conducting tonight's meeting here at City Hall in council chambers as well as virtually using Zoom. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting tonight on Wave Channel 18 and online through the city's YouTube channel. If you would like to participate in live public comment via the Zoom platform, please refer to the agenda for instructions. Rabbi Yankee of the Chabad Jewish Center of Lincoln will be giving the invocation this evening, and Mayor Joyner will begin the meeting immediately after the invocation. Rabbi, if you'd like to come up to the podium, please. Thank you.
Good evening. Almighty God, look favorably upon the mayor and honorable members of the city council of our great city of Lincoln. Bless these distinguished individuals who have been chosen to make laws and decisions for the citizens of our city. Let us recognize that this is not only a great honor and civic responsibility, but a holy endeavor as well. It is a God-given position that is actually the performance of one of the 7 universal laws given to all of mankind by God in order to ensure a peaceful and moral society. A society governed by laws which are based on the recognition and acknowledgement of you, God, as the sovereign ruler of all people and all nations. Grant these public servants wisdom and understanding in their noble pursuit of justice and equality. Give them guidance so that they will always be conscious of your presence and will strive to enact laws with honesty and integrity in accordance with your will. May they have wisdom to turn adversity into opportunity and to transform the hard challenges we face today into the seeds from which will sprout forth the growth of tomorrow. This week, Jewish communities around the world are celebrating the holiday of Hanukkah, the festival of lights. We are all well aware of the darkness and hatred the world has seen in recent months. The Rebbe taught that the way to combat darkness and hatred is not with aggression, weapons, or violence, but through spreading positivity, love, and light. The message of the Hanukkah lights is that even one small candle has the power to dispel much darkness. May the city of Lincoln serve as a beacon of light for people of all faiths and walks of life. May he who brings peace in the heavens bring peace upon us, and let us say, Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi. All right. Good evening and welcome to the City of Lincoln 2023 regular meeting of the City Council, the Lincoln Redevelopment Successor Agency, the Lincoln Public Financing Authority for December 12th, 2023. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Yes, Councilmember Andriotta.
Here.
Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Lauritsen.
Here.
And Mayor Joyner.
Here. Report from closed session, Christine. Oh, you weren't even in the room. I can't
That's all
turn to you
right,
for
but
that.
I understand there is no reportable action.
Correct. Thank you. Rabbi, would you be good enough to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we move on to item 5, agenda modifications. Any requests for agenda modifications from council? Yeah. All right. We move directly into presentations. Item 6A, inaugural senior health fair. Mr. Scully.
Thank you very much, Mayor. There's a few slides that I think are going to come up here momentarily, but we put this item on just as sort of a debrief for the City Council and community on our inaugural senior health fair. So I suppose it was probably early in the year. Chris Wyatt and Harriet Garland came to see me and had an idea that it would be neat to try to figure out a way to put on a senior health fair. And so we met a number of times. We came up, thank you. We came up with a bunch of pretty neat ideas. It started pretty small. I think we all would admit we kind of ran into some challenges and roadblocks, and then it all culminated in what ended up being a pretty good event. Do I need to go? Oh, there we go. Thank you, IT. So right up there is the flyer that we put together. I'm really proud of this event because it used very few, comparative to other events, city resources. Almost all of the really hard work was done by the two ladies sitting in the audience back there. And it wasn't that long until after the word got around that businesses, nonprofits, health organizations all jumped in with both feet and were really excited about it. We were in the beginning just kind of hoping to get a couple of local health providers and maybe a seminar or something. And it turned out that we ended up having a number of really great speakers. So Placer County DA was present on victim advocacy. Public Safety Chief Alves over there gave a nice speech on senior safety and scams and what to look out for. Dr. Ellis from Lincoln Urgent Care came and gave some comments on senior health. And then I guess the most popular was the fitness trainer did a functional exercise class towards the beginning that was very popular. So we had 44 vendors, staff were present, almost all of our local nonprofits, and a lot of great volunteers that came out to make it happen. Here's just a couple little pictures. We think we had about 200 non-involved just participants that came. And a couple takeaways. When talking with Chris and Harriet, I think there's some interest in trying to see this continue forward. There seems to be a lot of value. We got a lot of great feedback from the community on it. So we met afterwards and had just a little discussion about maybe what we could improve and do better. The way that it was set up in the pavilion ended up being a little restrictive. So we're going to probably rethink how we set up vendors so that there's a little bit more room to navigate. Probably more and different types of vendors next year. Everybody loved the exercise class, so that seems to be something that we're going to want to bring back, maybe expand. New speakers, or at least with new topics, added in marketing and outreach, so see if we can get it out a little bit more. The Sun City community was really great. They put it in their newsletter and got it out to their folks. We also had transportation available for seniors that were in the downtown area that maybe we're going to have a tough time getting to the event. The benefits, just as sort of, at least I see them, is we're centralizing resources for a segment of the community where it might be a little bit more difficult for them to travel to many of these different places to receive services or information. It's for sure a community building event. In the setup, during and after, everybody was there really pitching in. I view it as an economic development exercise. These businesses that were there certainly because they want to serve the community, but a lot of them are there trying to share the services and products that they have to the seniors of the community. And it's almost all of the businesses, not all of them, almost all of them were local Lincoln businesses that provide services. And then, of course, the main reason, which is trying to improve community health and doing it through education and outreach. So with that, I wanted to invite up Chris and Harriet to say at least a few things. No, I get accused of that all the time.
Thank you very much. And you did a great job, Sean. I do have to say, though, that this entire idea was hers. Quick side note, she sent me a text one day and there was in tiny print, it said there's a health fair at an assisted living. And I didn't see the tiny print. And she said, we should go. So I wrote her back, and because I can never say no to her. And so I wrote her back and I said, okay, but why are we going? I didn't know if she was committing me or what we were going to be doing there. And so she said, it's a health fair. We need to go. So we went. It really wasn't a health fair. They had, I think, 2 vendors there. So we were in and out of there pretty fast. But she said, Lincoln's never had a senior health fair. We need to do this. So we said, okay. So we made an appointment with Sean because we can't call it the the Chris and Harriet Health Fair. That's not a big draw. So we asked Sean about, could the city sponsor it? And he was right on it. And also suggested that we contact Seniors First, and they were 1,000% behind it. So now we have these two great names, but I have to say that as great as it turned out, it would not have been without Sean and all of his staff. Absolutely fantastic. And it was one of the best projects I've ever worked on. We actually had 54 vendors, not 44. And that's including yeah, you stand corrected. That includes the 3 or 4 food vendors. The feedback that we got from the vendors was absolutely fantastic. Other than the sound system and the speakers in there, we need to rearrange that. But it was interesting, by the time the day ended, we had a list of 5 vendors that came up to us that we didn't even know and said, we weren't here this year, please put us on the list for next year. So we already have 5 new vendors to call. Feedback from the people that were there. I got emails from some of my friends that went and so forth, and everybody said, thank you so much. Please, please keep doing this. We had a couple interactive. We had the blood pressure readings, which was obviously a big thing. And Lions Club brought their eye van, and they did preliminary eye exam, and then they gave referrals out. They gave quite a few. And then many of those people, once they would go to the optometrist, they would get 2 free pair of glasses. So that was really good. Advertising, we really did, we always need more, but I think we did a great job on it. Again, the city was instrumental in it. I don't know what you call them, but the lighted street signs, the traffic lights, we had more comments on that. People were so impressed at that. I think we had them at 2 ends of the city. We had the city e-bulletins, the chamber e-blast, Sun Senior News, Gold Country Media, and flyers. And because Sean, and I can tell you because I live in Sun City, they do not advertise anything in the community. But I tuned into Coffee with the Mayor, and Sean was there, and somebody asked him about it. And he ended up his talk by saying to the executive director, I'll get you the information on it. I thought, okay, here's our chance. And I put a call into him, and that actually never heard back from him. But because Sean had been there and said that, all of a sudden I get my email from Sun City Association, and there's the whole flyer on the email. That's the first time, to my knowledge, they have ever done that. So that was huge. So anyway, all in all, we are really excited about it. It was a fun project. The weather was good. We just had great comments. And again, I have to really thank Sean and the city staff.
Well, what can I say? I just want to reiterate, thank you, Sean, for allowing us to do this. But staff, Leslie and Gwen saved us as far as the PA system. We didn't have one, and they came in and rescued us on that. I think Chief Alves for having his staff there, as well as speaking. There weren't as many people participating in the speakers that we would like, but I think part of that is because we didn't really announce them ahead of time because we were waiting for some, and then it got too late. So we'll improve on that, but I'm excited about doing it again. I know that we have youth health clinics all the time, but this for seniors, and we're going to work on transportation so that we can get transportation there. But it was a fun day. I'm glad we did it. And I didn't really have to twist her arm too much to get involved. So thank you.
Well, thank you both. You're absolutely correct. We've got a great staff, very supportive, but this would not have happened without the 2 of you coming up with the idea, sitting in his office, pitching him on it, and having him realize what a great asset that would be for the community. So thank you for your involvement and your stick-to-itiveness on that, and for correcting him on the number of vendors as well. So I guess I do have a quick question. It was so successful. Is there a way to continue the momentum between annual events?
I mean, we haven't talked about that, but yeah, I think so. I think unless you have a kind of a consistent type of function like this, and maybe a year, we'll have to talk about that. Chris and Harriet, because maybe a year is too long, because not everybody can come on that one day, and so maybe there's an opportunity. I think they're probably getting like, headaches over there thinking about having to put the event together twice. But certainly maybe some more targeted, localized ones in the community too. My worry actually is that next year, I think if we're even more successful, that space is not gonna be sufficient for kind of what we need. So we might need to look into using the community center, which is a little bit more open. But yeah, I think so.
Well, I think maybe next year we can try to get Good Day Sacramento out here or one of the news media to do an early thing so that more people see it. I think that'd be great. Yeah. Thank you both very much.
Any other questions or comments from council? All right. Thank you. All right, we'll move on then to item 6B, on-house pilot project update. I've got Mona Bass pitching that, but Sean, I'm going to let you do a lead in, if you would, please.
Well, I'm going to hand it to Christine. I've worked on this with Mona and Christine, but they've been on this a lot longer. I've kind of come lately, so.
So it's my pleasure to introduce to you someone that really needs no introduction, but Mona Bass. She and I have been working on this pilot project for at least 3 years. It is now stood up and running. We have our 2 residents who have been housed for about a month now. And Mona is on the oversight committee. We've specifically tried to keep staff out of the oversight committee so that it would be community members, providers, and that way, if staff has to come in and kind of be the heavy, we're not the ones potentially damaging those relationships with our residents. So with that, I will turn it over to Mona. She'll give you an update on how they're doing and how everything's going.
Thanks, Sean, Christine. Thank you, Mayor and council members. Really, just thanks for the opportunity to partner as a faith community with the city of Lincoln in this really important issue. I believe, as Rabbi spoke earlier, that we are a light in this city. We have been and will continue to be in this issue, as small as we are. So I'm proud. As Christine says, we did select our oversight committee, better known as our host entity team, selected 2 of our homeless women, Pam and Shannon, to be our first participants in our pilot program as of November 13th. So really 1 month now. What's going on is no problems from the neighbors. No problems. The police officers don't make any calls there. Grace Lutheran Church, where the trailers are located, the site that we have set up, no problem. In fact, to the contrary, they love these ladies. They keep an eye on any problems in that property. So if police have been called, it's because of that van that was sitting out on the street, or something like that. They keep an eye out on any problems. They rake the leaves. They bring the Walmart carts that end up on their property back. They put the trash out. So it's going well. They're keeping the trailers very clean inside and outside. They even, Shannon has put together a daily, weekly, and monthly written cleaning schedule. Okay. Thanks to the salt mine, Grace Lutheran Church, and a financial donation from Granite Springs Church, they have been equipped with all the necessary household items, cleaning supplies, their food that they need beyond CalFresh, and laundry facilities over there at the salt mine. We've already moved from what we call that first phase, the adjusting phase, to the document ready and support phase. I meet weekly to do the case management meetings every Wednesday with them independently in consultation with our HHS social worker and case managers over at the Gathering Inn. And so they've been working on getting all their documents ready, phones, 211 registration, Medi-Cal, renewal, CalFresh, birth certificates, driver's license, social security cards. They're doing a really great job with that. They've contacted our local nonprofits to help in the counseling and classes that they might need. Shannon has registered for online school with Highlands Community Charter Technical School in Sacramento. So she's really excited about starting that this next semester. Pam will be starting weekly volunteering already at the Salt Mine Thrift Store, and she's going to begin job search. She's been doing her part to start searching for a job now in the next weeks. The next steps, again, just continue this. And Pastor Eric from the Salt Mine is going to build some dog runs. We had dog kennels. These two ladies have pretty big dogs, even though they're very, very well maintained. The kennel situation doesn't work out in those trailers or outside of the trailers. So Pastor Eric's going to build some dog runs outside, giving these women greater freedom to leave the property, as well as a better for the animals and the trailers themselves. Scott Boynton, so Matt's team, Scott and his team, they've done a fabulous job responding to any trailer issues, trailer questions. That's one of the things we're working at, is to actually decrease those service calls. The gals are very sensitive to, hey, what about this? What about this? Very proactive. There's been no things that they broke or they destroyed or damaged anywhere. So we're just learning a lot. The trailers are very, let's just say politely, involved. And we learn, like, oh, they didn't have inverters in. We can't get the electricity from this to this. Oh, one trailer has 2 gray water valve releases, whereas not just one. So there's little things we've learned along the way. But we're going to try to decrease the public works service calls and thus money for trailer issues. And we'll get a better understanding. Again, it's only just been 1 month, so we don't have a real good understanding of the total cost in water, in electricity, propane. So we'll give it another month to see what that cost is specifically. But the other thing, just looking down the way, I know it's just the first month, but I'm always looking ahead. So what we will need to work closely together on with staff and council members is the whole permanent housing issue. Affordable housing is small number. Waiting lists are long. So I believe we're going to have to do something creative to support. Our gals will be ready, but we're going to have to look at some creative avenues to help in that permanent housing. I know Roseville has done a landlord incentive program. Maybe some of our affordable housing units that are coming on board, we could get a spot reserved or something. I don't know. That's out of my bailiwick, but I'm sure we have some experts here in this room that can help. That's all I have. Do you have any questions? Any comments, anything?
Questions, comments, anything?
Well, first of all, thank you, Mana. That's so great. I'm really excited about this program, and I'm glad to hear that it's already going well. So without being too personal, to the 2 ladies that are in there now, are they feeling good about it? Are they happy to be there? Are they feeling like they're progressing?
Oh, very much so.
Okay,
Yeah. That's
Good.
the first question I ask every Wednesday is, how's it going?
yeah.
How are you? What are you most proud of? What are you struggling with? How are you doing emotionally, physically, socially? Yeah, they're proud.
Okay, good. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Have you got a sense of the rest of the unhoused community that as they're watching this happen, that like, oh, hey, maybe I want to be next in line?
Maybe. We really don't, we
yet?
kind of been focused on these 2 women
Sure,
right now, and then
sure.
what we do down there. I think that will come.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you. Well, just know that we're very proud of you and your team and the work that you're doing, and we're behind you 100%. And so thank you for the update. Keep coming back and let us know what else we can do to support you.
Yeah, I was going to say that I really appreciate your hard work on it too, because especially the first couple, it's gonna be, like you said, working out the kinks of the trailer calls per se, getting to know them. That it can get dialed in and who knows, maybe this first round of the 6-month period that we have in place, maybe that takes a little bit longer because we're working through the first steps, right? We can get a better sense of what to put in place for that. You know, maybe it becomes 8 months, or maybe we can streamline it to become 4. But you know, I think it's in every case is going to be a little different.
Yeah.
So, you know, hang in there, and I'm optimistic that some of the issues that you talk about coming up, like the housing, I'm optimistic that we'll be able to help find something, even if it's not really here in Lincoln, but something to help them get on their own. And I really appreciate your hard work with, you know, again, the helping documentation, getting jobs, and I really feel like we're gonna have a win.
Bill?
You know, we have 6, well, what do we have? 6 trailers? 6 total. So I think we have the capacity for 6. All right. I'll reserve judgment beyond that. Just because just in my first month, the trailers are a complicated unit. Okay. And so I don't know if everyone would fit in that type of complicated, you know, I'm already confused sometimes on gray water, black water, propane, electricity.
Anybody who's ever camped in one of those, who owns it, there's a learning curve. It's
Yeah.
not something you can just move into and be like, know how everything works.
Yeah,
So that's totally understandable.
yeah. But 6, I definitely think we can, right now, yes.
Do you think too that once other churches see that this is a good program, that it's not a lot of problems for their property, that the other ones will come back on board and be willing to partner with us? in
I would
that?
like to hope that. I pray
Yeah.
for that all the time.
Yeah, okay.
And
Me
again,
too.
I'm very,
too.
I would not, I don't want to push that until we have a better understanding of cost of,
Yeah.
not just the honeymoon period, but a couple months.
That's what I love about you, is you're so practical. You're very hopeful and optimistic, but you're also very down to earth and practical. And that's very helpful. I appreciate that. Yeah.
It is. So what I'm truly excited about, and thank you for the report out on how things are going right now. Christine, Holly, and I, and Lincoln Police Department have spent the last 2 years on a countywide effort to address homelessness. It doesn't really feel like it's gotten anywhere in the entire two years, quite honestly. This program, this pilot program that the 3 of you have come up with together has real promise, and I think is scalable if it's as successful as I hope it will be, and can be either emulated by other communities or even moved about within our own community, so that the impacts of this pilot program on one particular neighborhood at any given time is kept to a minimum, and we can address those issues. So I'm excited about this. I am concerned about what happens downstream, what is the connectivity of programs, funding that we can put them together with. It sounds like they've kind of put together their own programs in some respects, signing themselves up for classes, volunteering, that type of thing. That's all good.
Yeah.
But how do we support them in that effort? And I'm probably going to spin off in a direction I shouldn't here. It's difficult to advance someone to the front of a line of a government subsidized housing program. But we've got one on the agenda tonight that is asking for favors. And perhaps there's a way to make an arrangement where we at least get some consideration.
That's possible. When we get to consent, the applicant has actually asked that item be pulled.
Okay.
They have some pretty significant revisions to the agreement, so. that gives us an opportunity to go back and perhaps make
Yes.
another ask.
And Mayor, one of the things like we're saying is what we've learned in just this short amount of time is a lot of our permanent supportive housing is based on vulnerability. So you don't have to show motivation and progress. Our two women, after 1 month, have shown not only motivation. I mean, they had a hard interview to go through between me and Carol and Travis Parson. Okay, that wasn't easy, right? And they motivation and just the positive effort that they have made in this short amount of time. That's amazing. But unfortunately, I don't know enough about on the supportive housing end and the affordable housing end, if that gets you anything, you know what I mean? Versus your vulnerability.
Yeah,
So,
the difficulty, at least with government subsidized facilities, is that they are equal opportunity housing facilities and they aren't limited to Lincoln residents. So there's availability, there's lists that are put out statewide and people come from across the state and are competing with that. So maybe there's a way for us to.
And the way the by name list works is the more vulnerable you are, the higher you go on the list. And so by helping these residents become less vulnerable, it's going to
Interesting.
be more difficult for them to get into housing through that process. But
Catch-22.
it is a catch-22, but Mana and I have been talking about it, and I think we have some creative options that we're going to be looking at, so.
and just so you know, one of the things that I've instilled in both of them is gone are the days where Mana and Carol Tetley are going to be your only people that know who you are and support you. Okay. They need to be in the community. So everyone that knows that, oh yeah, I know Pam. What? Yeah, she comes to work on time all the time. She's a great this. Yeah, I know Shannon. So again, that's our effort right now to assist in that, is to just really get them involved in the community so other people know who they are and know their skill set and know the positive things about them, not what they used to be.
Just follow up on Bill's question a little bit. Your response to that was you think we've got capacity for 6. I took that to mean you've got 6 that would be.
No, possibly. I just see that just trailers are, right now, I just think trailers are a lot of work. And compared to our town size and how small we want to keep it, not a big, that's about where, as far as I can think right now.
So it's not that it's not that you only have 6 individuals that might be interested in the help.
No.
It's that you've got 6 who might be capable of operating the facility and.
Yeah, it just seems, it's not only just the people, the individuals themselves, it's just the trailers.
Got it.
You know, and they take up a lot of space.
In time that will,
So,
I think it'll work itself out. And those that, just off the top of my head, those that are in part of the program, maybe at some point can come back and help others
perfect idea.
that have the knowledge now of the trailers. I
Perfect.
really think that it's a learning curve that you can get through that'll really shorten things up.
Yeah.
So although it's a huge thing now, I think it.
And Mayor,
And it's probably my practicality and just, I don't dream, I dream big, but let's just work that dream one by one by one.
and if we had 6, like think about this, if we really had 6 trailers that were active every 6 months-ish, let's say, and let's assume your success rate really great would be like 70-80%, let's say. That is a significant population change in our actual homeless count in Lincoln, because we don't have really that many in comparison to most other places. And so what I really like about this is one of the things that Mana shared with me during my first year here was, I might be misquoting you a little bit, but she said, I'm tired of talking. I'm tired of talking about setting something up. I want to do something. And that's pretty cool because you don't really see that. There's a lot, as you know, there's a lot of talking, not a lot of doing.
Talking and not much doing. Absolutely. That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well,
Appreciate
couldn't have
it.
done it without every one of you here. so
Thank you, Mona. Thank you.
All right. With that, we complete our presentations. We move on to the public comment period of our meeting tonight. Anyone wishing to make a comment on a non-agendized item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council, this would be the opportunity to do that. I've got a couple of cards here tonight. First one is Donna Moore. Come on up. How are you?
Good evening, I'm fine. This is the first time I've ever made one of these meetings, and I'm kind of glad I did. My complaint is the water surcharges for the sewer and the trash. Did anybody, who amongst you okayed something like that? My bill went from $80 a month to
Need you to
100.
pull that back. The people at home need to hear you. There are hundreds of people watching you on television.
Oh,
Just don't listen.
wonderful. It went from $80 a month to 144. Now, I called and said, is there anything that I could do? And the person I talked to, she was very nice. She said, well, you can split your payments. And I said, well, as I told you a moment ago, I'm on Social Security, fixed income. I only get paid once a month. Who okayed this? Now, when they first brought this up, I did mail in, they asked for people's opinions. I voted against it. I mean, I could see a little bit, but we're talking $60 a month. I'm on a fixed income, which I'm sure a lot of elderly people are in the same boat. And I was just wondering who and why and how can we fix this?
So I appreciate the question. We are limited in what the council is allowed to say. The answer to your question is 4 members of the council
Mhm.
ultimately approved the rate increases that have been a 2-year-long process. What I think I'll do is toss it to Nita real quick. She's got an assistance program that you may need some information about that could help you out. But as far as our process goes, Sean, Nita.
Yes, I mean, it's probably was, you may have seen in the flyer that was sent out, utilities in Lincoln had not changed for a period of, had not changed in a significant way in a period of at least 10 years and really beyond that. What the flyer also stated was that all 3 utilities were on track to be bankrupt within about 12 to 18 months, depending on the utility. Nobody, including those of us that worked on the finance side of it, were excited about the concept of a first year significant increase. Unfortunately, the numbers sort of bore themselves out that if a lesser amount would have essentially kicked the pain down the road a little bit and would have exacerbated it significantly. So the decision for the city council was, do you fund your utility appropriately by charging for the actual cost to provide the service, or do you not do that and slowly run it into the ground? And I'm oversimplifying it a little bit, but that is essentially the decision they had to make. And it was a really hard one, and it will continue to be a really hard one as costs increase. Now, Nita, maybe you want to jump in on utility assistance because we do have some programs.
Yeah, so we do have the utilities program. Have you applied, ma'am? I don't have access to my files, so I'm not positive if you have. But I did the research on it and I don't qualify. Are you enrolled in PG&E Cares perhaps? I'm sorry, what? Are you enrolled in PG&E Cares, the PG&E Cares program? Probably not. I don't know what that is. Okay, I'm going to give you my card and why don't you call me tomorrow and let's talk about it. And because if you're enrolled in that program, which it sounds like you probably qualify for that program, then you qualify for our program. Okay. Okay. But you know, like your operative word there was significant. It goes beyond significant. It actually is killing a lot of people. I mean, does Lincoln, you know, we have a nice community. I've lived here for almost 10 years now. I enjoy it, but this was a slap in the face. That with HOA fees and everything else that you have to deal with, it was a slap in the face. And I would hope that somebody, you know, a little bit at a time, baby steps, I think you said, or something on that order, baby steps.
The challenge, Donna, is that each one of those funds was going to go insolvent. So we've had the benefit for the last 10 years of paying less than the cost the city has for delivering the service. And unfortunately, we were left, frankly, with very little choice, but a very hard decision we made.
So-
But I do encourage you very much to get in touch with
I
me.
will
and
get in
there's some
touch with her.
programs there that I think can help.
So do you live in the city of Lincoln?
Absolutely, we all do.
And you're all paying the
We're all
rates?
paying it. We are all
the
paying
same
it.
But then
increases.
again, you're all employed. You see where I'm going with this? You know, we discussed the citizen or the helping of the elderly and what they need and how you can help them. Well, something like this is not help. It really isn't. So anyway, thank you for your time.
You bet, thank you. Darla Gutierrez? Hi, Darla.
Hello, everyone. The memo that I gave you with the address, the reason I brought it up was in my prior comments, I came over 3 years ago to complain about my wannabe light that maybe 1 year I'll get where I live. But anyway, when I came to that, of going to them and telling them, pretty much it came down to, they wanted me to take the pictures, they wanted me to do this, they wanted me to do that, and nothing was ever done. Then I came here, complained about it, blah, 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 nothing happened. Then I came again, and finally I got a little attention, and I'm still waiting for the end results. But this address, it's a home. They have 2 vehicles in their driveway because they have teenage kids. And the family has to park their vehicle in front of their house, but literally have to park in the neighbor's house because there's a big flood there. During the summer, it gets flooded because when the neighbors water, it goes down the street and it stops at their front of their house. It doesn't continue. During the winter, it gets even worse. They've called Public Works or whatever you call the people. And they've called and they've called and they say, yes, we know about it. Now, they can come here and they can complain about it, right? And maybe it'll get done. But my question to you guys, and Ben, being that it's his district, is that why is it that everyone has to come here to complain about when we should be going to who has to do the job? You guys aren't gonna do the job. You guys do the voting for other things. This is a problem on a street. It's like there's a problem, there's these big holes on a certain street. I asked the residents, why don't you call it Public Works? Why? They're not gonna do anything about it. Now, they can come here and they complain and you'll say, okay, we'll see into it. But why do they have to come here to complain instead of getting Public Works or whoever's in charge of it, getting it fixed?
That's exactly the way it should happen.
Yes.
There is an online form that you can fill out for any issues that will go directly to Public Works, and they should be able to address it. And you should be able to call them as well, Matt. do you
Yeah,
wanna-
because those little, to me, it's a little thing to have to come over here and explain it to you guys.
Yeah, I agree.
But for them, they should automatically say, we'll look into it, we'll try to fix it. But when they patch those big holes that look like a tire and they just put a big blog on it, but they don't really fix it, that's why they say, what's the point? And this is what I'm hearing over and over again. So that address is for Ben, for him to do his homework. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt?
Yeah, Darla, if you don't mind, I can give you a call tomorrow to hear about it, but you're welcome to give out my number. I think you have my personal and my work cell. You're welcome to give that number out, and if there's any problem, I'll follow up. But yeah, I don't know the nature of the complaint. but typically we track all those in our maintenance management system. Yeah, and it might be a difficult problem to solve. I don't know, but I'll definitely speak with you tomorrow about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Anyone else in the room wish to speak in public comment? Melanie?
Well, good evening, council. First, I wanted to say, Holly, I don't know if you had anything to do with this, but there were a couple of women here, Paul, when you were traveling, who mentioned some issues with the ground and driving over it near the casino. And they came to this meeting, shared their concerns, and I don't know what happened in the background, but the next week I was driving by that area and saw road work being done. So I wanted to say thank you if that's what happened there. I love when something gets done and seeing it happen quickly.
Well, I'd love to take credit for it, but it was already on the schedule and they were
Awesome.
already planning on fixing it, but you're welcome.
And that looks really nice for you. Secondly, I, like probably a couple other business owners in this city, received this letter regarding chapter 5.02 of the business licenses in our municipal code. And I wanted to say, thank you as a business owner for sending out this very informative letter that was signed by someone in the city. Thank you for returning our license fees and extending the license for us and not having it expire at the end of this year. I want to say thank you. And as a follow-up, I'd love to know what the review of that coding is at this point to make sure something like this doesn't happen again, especially for our small business owners here. And then also for the lady who asked about who voted for the water increases, William Lawrenson was the only council member who did not approve the votes in the water increases. And also, it's my understanding the reason we had such a large increase right now is
Melanie,
because
you
the
could talk
council
to-
did not
Melanie,
take.
you could talk to the council, please, not the audience.
Okay, well, it's my understanding the council did not take their increase rate every 2 or 3 years. So after the 10 years of no rate increases, we experienced a really large increase. So there's that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room wish to speak on an item not on our agenda tonight? Anyone online?
No one online, Mayor.
Right. We'll go ahead and close out our public comment period and move on to our consent agenda.
Mayor,
And-
staff is recommending that we pull item 8F.
8F for a date certain or
No, and it's not a publicly noticed hearing, so we'll be working with the applicant over the holidays to try to work out the kinks in the
Okay.
agreement.
Ben, I didn't get to you. Are you going to pull an item from consent? Any member of the public wish to have the council pull an item for discussion? No one in the room? Anyone online? All right, then I'll accept a motion for the remainder of the consent agenda.
I move, we accept the remainder of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Go ahead.
Yes, Councilmember Andriotta?
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
And Mayor Joyner?
Yes. We move on to item 9A, public hearings. Conduct a public hearing and waive a full reading and introduce by title only ordinance 1073B, amending section 10.56.010 to the Lincoln Municipal Code establishing speed limits throughout the city. You're not Vin.
I am not Bill. I'm Roland. Good evening,
Good
Mayor
evening, Roland.
Joyner and council members. This item is a request to approve a school speed limit zone and to update speed limit on 2 roadway segments along Nicholas Road and 9th Street. So several months ago, Lincoln PD reached out to the engineering department to inquire about the possibility of creating a school speed limit zone on 9th Street adjacent to the north side of Lincoln High School and Phoenix High School. So per the California Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, we need to conduct an engineering traffic study in order to implement a school speed limit zone. So we hired a traffic engineering consultant to do just that. As part of the study, 2 new speed surveys needed to be conducted. As a reminder, speed surveys establish the posted speed limit. And per the California Vehicle Code, speed surveys must ascertain what's called the 85th percentile speed, which is the rate at which 85% of drivers are traveling at or below. Then you take that number and then you round it to the nearest 5-mile-an-hour increment, and that becomes the speed limit. There's a little bit of a leeway where you can adjust the speed limit down by 5 miles an hour if engineering judgment dictates that there is warrant for that. So the traffic study concluded that a school zone is warranted on 9th Street along the frontage of the schools, which would create a speed limit of 25 miles an hour when children are present. The study also concluded that the existing speed limit on Nicholas Road between Joyner Parkway and O Street can remain at 40 miles an hour, but the speed limit between O and J Street needs to be increased by 5 miles an hour from 35 to 40. The 5 mile an hour reduction that I mentioned earlier was used in both of these instances to reduce that speed to the posted speed limits that are being requested. So essentially, the speed limit from Joyner to J would be a consistent 40 miles an hour if approved. But when children are present, either going to school, on the sidewalk, in the bicycle lane, the speed limit between J and O Street would be 25 miles an hour. So the recommendation before council is to update the speed limit ordinance to create a 25 mile an hour school zone when children are present on 9th Street between O and J Streets, to modify the speed limit on that same section of roadway from 35 to 40 miles an hour, and to recertify the section of roadway on Nicholas Road between O Street and Joyner Parkway, going in reverse, Joyner Parkway and O Street as 40 miles an hour. Thank you.
Got it. Any questions from council? I do have one, that when children are present definition becomes a little complicated. It may not be school hours.
Doesn't need to.
You're driving down at 40 miles an hour because that's what you do. And it's a Saturday, let's say, and suddenly you see a child on the sidewalk. Does that immediately kick that into place?
It would, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the child present, yeah.
Is
So
there, is there a way to convey that? Because I think most people perceive that as during school hours and
Sure.
thereafter on the buffers of that.
Sure. That would be a good conversation for me to have with PD. Yeah.
Other than that, I have no issue with the recommendations. I'll go ahead and open it up to the public if that's all right. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? Anyone online, Gwen?
No one online, Mayor.
Last chance for comments. If not, I'll go ahead and accept a motion.
I move approval.
I'll second.
Motion, Andriata, second Brown.
Yes, Councilmember Andriana.
Yes.
Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen.
Yes.
And Mayor Joyner.
Yes. Item 9B, conduct a public hearing and 2, waive first reading and introduce by title only ordinance 1074B, amending sections of the Lincoln Municipal Code, chapter 2.04.140, filling city council vacancy and further finding the ordinance is exempt from environmental review under the California Environmental Quality Action, CEQA. Ms. Malikoff.
So what is before the council this evening is an opportunity to revise Lincoln Municipal Code Section 2.04.140 to provide for more flexibility in the appointment of a council member should there be a vacancy due to resignation, illness, or death. This is in accordance with Government Code Section 36512, which allows an appointment process. If a vacancy occurs from an elected office, the council shall, within 60 days from the commencement of the vacancy, either fill the vacancy by appointment or call for a special election to fill the vacancy. Our current municipal code only allows for calling for the special election. So the council would have to, within 60 days from the commencement of the vacancy, call for the special election, and then that election would need to be held within 114 days thereof. I am told from our city clerk that special election process is very expensive. And so this would provide an opportunity for the council to instead appoint someone to fill the remainder of the term for that individual who had vacated the seat. I had been presented with a couple of questions from council members about whether the appointee, if this is adopted, was required to in fact be from the district from the vacancy. And yes, in fact, per election code 34882, the individual has to be qualified in order to be appointed. And one of the qualifications is being a registered voter, being from the district, having lived in the city for a certain period of time, those types of things. So yes, in fact, any appointment would have to be from an individual who resides within the district. Makes sense because otherwise you're basically disenfranchising that district from their representative on the council. So that's really the simplicity of the ordinance. So you can adopt the ordinance, take no action, and maintain the status quo with what we have, which requires the special election to be called within 60 days and the election held within 114 days. Or I would be happy to accept further direction and bring it back to you.
So if I understand the proposed change, it would offer an either or rather than a must.
Correct.
Okay.
It would allow the council to make that decision based on the circumstances.
Questions, comments from the council?
No, I don't have any questions, but thank you for writing this up. I think it's much needed and I'm in favor of it.
I agree. I think that being forced to spend money if the council has agreed on someone that fits the qualifications makes way more sense than being forced to spend 75,000 or whatever it is.
I'd probably be against this. Too many positions on the council right now were appointed as opposed to being elected. And I don't want to see another one. So I'd much rather have an election. Yeah, the cost is, high, but then again, the cost of democracy is high. So no, I would not be in favor of this.
All right, thank you.
Mayor?
Yeah.
May I please respond to that? Ms. Mollenkoff, would you please explain to the public that Councilmember Brown and I are duly elected members of this council and we are not appointed?
Correct. There is an election code that specifically provides for terminating an election when there's only one candidate who has pulled paperwork in order to run and have qualified for the election. And so the individual is, they call it appointed, but it is technically, you are an elected official. And it is the city's determination that because there's only one person running for each seat, that they chose not to go forward with the election. That is specifically permitted under the election code.
And I appreciate that restatement of that fact. That's a issue that seems to come up repeatedly, and they are duly elected members of this council. So I hope that ends that conversation. With respect to the ordinance that's in front of us, I'm going to support it. I think it's very appropriate. If and when it kicks into place, I think there probably is room for a discussion about timing. Let's say, and I'm just going to grab Ben as an example. He decides tomorrow that he no longer wants to be on the council. He's got 3 years left on his term. I think there is a place for an appointment to fill that role, but the 3 years seems a little wrong to me. And so for the 1 year until the next general election would make sense to me, and then have an election for the remaining 2 years. But I think that's a conversation for if and when that happens, and this ordinance allows for that discussion to be had.
And then it becomes the council's decision on what to do on that. So
Right, and I
if
think
there are
your-
3 years,
your
the
point
council
is-
decides.
Well taken, that depending on the circumstance and the timing, we can make that decision. And so I think it's well written. Thank you.
I do too. Any member of the public wish to speak on this item?
Mayor, if you
May-
could open the public
hearing.
hearing.
It is a public hearing, isn't it? I've been gone for a little while.
Yeah,
I
it's okay.
apologize. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing on this. Anyone wishing to testify, please approach the podium. Anyone online? All right, we'll close the public hearing. Bring it back up here for action.
Okay, I move approval.
A second.
Motion, Andriotta, second, Brown. Go ahead.
Councilmember Andriotta?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Lawson?
No.
Mayor Joyner?
Yes. All right, we move. 9C has been continued to a date certain of January 9th, 2024. 2024, how did we get here already? Wow. So we move on to general business. Item 10A, adopt resolution 2023-205, establishing one full-time equivalent position, FTE, and assigning it to the classification of assistant city manager. Mr. Scully.
Thank you very much, Mayor. So over the last, let's see, in February, I will have been here 2 years. So over the last 18 to 20 months, we've worked really hard to fill a lot of positions that were vacant when I arrived, fill positions that we've experienced some attrition, and then as council's well aware and supported, filled a whole host of important positions in public safety in virtually every single other department over that time. And one of the kind of reoccurring themes, and we dealt with this most recently with chiefs, captain and deputy chief positions, is this concept of succession planning and redundancy, so that the organization is strong enough to weather changes in personalities and individuals. The most successful organizations that I'm aware of and have been part of all have made that a really important investment, because as this council's certainly well aware, every time that you have to go out and hire a new Sean or a new Christine, a new Matt or Vin or Nita, really anybody in this room, it's a net loss in terms of time, recruiting efforts, uncertainty, time to get up to speed, you name it. At one time in my career, I really wanted to write a white paper on what I thought it costs outside of just recruitment for that changeover, because it's super expensive. And so one of the ways to hedge against that is to create positions so that there's pathways for people, a lot of super talented people at this organization, pathways for individuals here and outside of here to attain those positions and experience to be able to take them. As it relates to assistant city manager, I'm a little bit biased because I'm a product of that pathway. And I can tell you, having done this job now for a long time, that you simply can't learn this position by watching it from the outside. You think you can, and then when you're sitting in the seat, you realize you had no idea, much like most jobs.
Much like city council, right?
Yeah, I remember mostly like city council, yes. So one of the things that the city council discussed with me at length when I was hired actually was this desire to have an assistant city manager position and to create that. And so with the hiring of our city engineer, Vin, across the way, that was really the last major director position that was remaining. And so now we have a bit of an opportunity to address economic development and communications, which, by the way, we just interviewed for Monday, and we're hoping to make offers in the next couple of weeks. And then address this assistant city manager position. And so there's a lot of different pathways into city management. Some of them are through director level job experience. Some of it's management analyst type positions, deputy city managers, assistant city managers. And even many times, sometimes it's just private sector experience, on an executive level. I view this position as going to be not simply an investment in redundancy and succession. I believe that it's a true value add for our ability to get key projects done. You're adding on somebody that will operate very similarly to my roles and responsibilities in terms of taking on things that are specific council desires, things that are on your strategic plan that we want to see done in this 2-year period. And so it isn't simply another person to, cover emails and phone calls. This person will be assigned high level project level work and management responsibility. What I'm requesting this evening is the establishment of one FTE. A couple things about that. No salary action is required at this time. The council, actually prior to me getting here, approved that band back in 2021 when my predecessor, Mark Scott, was here. The FTE is for a full-time position. You're not going to see a lot of narrative in the report about recruitment because I haven't determined yet how exactly I want to do that. It may be internal, it may not. And it may be that if it is internal, one of the things that I did when I was appointed is I double dutied. I had a director's position and I served in dual roles to make sure that it worked, that I liked the role, that I got along with my boss at the time, and that, it was going to work. And so that may be the route we take. I haven't decided that yet. But I do look forward to your support for this, because I think this puts us in a really good position so that you have that succession redundancy and maybe a boost on some of our projects that are really important. Similarly, you're not going to see a lengthy narrative about fiscal impact, because to the extent that there is a fiscal impact beyond my authority, we will include it in the quarterly budget update, and we'll brief council on that in advance of any decisions. So that's sort of the theory and concept, and I'm happy to answer questions or comments.
And I would think, Sean, that just much like your role or Christine's, the cost of that position is spread across all the different departments that might use those services.
Yeah, it would be what we would call it internally on the finance side, a 600 position. So it's our blended fund that is intended to be proportionate to the services provided to each department.
Any questions from the council?
No questions, but yay.
I was gonna say that it's not very often that you have the ability to, what I call apprentice, right? It used to be, there's an apprentice to all kinds of different things, but yeah, especially if you have something that's being done in a way that you really like, so. That happens.
Bill? Yeah, we've talked about this many times over the last couple of years. It's good to see it begin to be realized. I like the way you're considering going about it, if it's internal, in that it not only gives you an opportunity to kind of kick the tires and test, but it also provides a lifeline to whatever department head might take that on, to be able to say, you know what, I thought this was going to be great. It's really not. Can I just go back and do what I used to do? And not feel threatened that they'll lose their position in the event that it doesn't work out. So I like the way you're thinking about it. I like that you're bringing this forward now. The other piece of this too is, as we become fully staffed, which we just about are right now, the burden on you increases as well. And I mean, you are this monolith in the corner office right now, trying to be all things to all departments. And we need to get you a little help along the way. And you're right, we had that discussion early on. I don't know that we thought we'd be here this quickly, but I'm glad we are.
I'm glad we are
So,
too.
thank you for that. Any member of the public wish to speak on this item? No? Anyone online?
No one online, Mayor.
All right, we'll bring it back up here for a motion, please.
Is it something to move on, or is it something that, okay, I motion to approve it.
A second.
All right, I have a motion, Brown, second, Andriotta.
Yes. Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Andriotta?
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen?
Yes.
And Mayor Joyner?
Yes. We move on to item 10B, a workshop. Receive and brief on a conceptual proposal submitted by the Chamber of Commerce for contract services with the City of Lincoln, and provide relative feedback on the concept. You want the feedback to be relative?
Preferably, yes.
Okay. John?
So thank you, Mayor. I'm going to give a little bit of history. I'm going to take the mayor's role for a moment and give a little bit of history to this. And actually, the mayor was present during some of this history, so you might be able to correct it. But
I don't know that fixed it, but yeah.
prior to the onset of the Great Recession in 08, 09, roughly, the city of Lincoln had a contract with the Lincoln Area Chamber of Commerce, wherein the city was an active financial contributor to the chamber in exchange for a variety of different kinds of services and efforts. As the recession began to become more serious, the organization went through some very, very painful periods where there were significant layoffs. And having gone through that myself, one of the things that happens, especially in a general fund, is you cut almost everything that's not immediately needed. And so this contract was cut. After that, it never really came back. And with that said, the chamber continued for most of those years, and certainly since Tom has taken over, to produce and provide most of those same benefits and services, and have added to those over the last 15 plus years. And so I get the opportunity to work with Tom and Josh a lot. And one of the things we've been discussing for some time is whether now is an opportune time for the city to sort of reinitiate its financial support of the chamber, and what that looks like, and how do we structure it so that it's a 2024 modern kind of look versus what we used back in the early 2000s. And I'm going to represent a few things that Tom has shared with me, and then I'm going to ask him to come up and speak. But just, to lay the groundwork a little bit, having worked in many communities and lived in many communities, and I know this is kind of lip service, people say this kind of thing all the time. We really do have an unbelievable chamber that is active and most importantly, consistent. If you go to small to medium communities, you may go to a chamber office and maybe they're open, maybe they aren't. You get a little note on the door that says call Bob, and Bob never calls you back. Here you can count
Not
that.
actually speaking of Bob Romness, who used to be the head of
No,
the chamber.
it's a
just
fake
to be
name.
clear.
There's no real
Okay.
Bob. Here you can count on a person, a friendly face, and I don't really think I need to espouse all of the things that the chamber does. Needless to say, at least in our region, they're top notch. And some of this discussion, I suspect tonight, we'll be having to think a little bit about what our community would look like if we didn't have that great support system and organization in a vibrant place. Tom has shared, one of the things that I'm going to go through here in just a moment is some of the services and responsibilities that they've proposed as part of this contract. And the reason I put it on as a workshop is I can't have conversations with each one of you to get an idea about whether you're absolutely for or absolutely against this. And so the workshop format gives us a little bit of an ability to just have a generalized conversation. And if the temperature is sure we're supportive of this generally, I'll finish up the negotiations with Tom and we'll put it into an MOU or a contract and bring it to you at a future meeting. But the key things that the chamber has suggested that we look into as part of the agreement is that they're going to continue to essentially do most, if not all, of what they're already doing with some expanded functions beyond that. So I don't want to minimize all of their work because it's hard to put it all into a short report, but let's just start with the things that are the most visible a lot of the time. So you have the 4th of July parade, you have the Lincoln Christmas event, you have hot rods and relics, rods and relics. Yeah, they have now jumped in on a variety of other events and help, but they provided support, as we heard earlier, to the senior fair. They were huge help and coordinators in the air show. I mean, you name it. I'm not going to be able to get to them all. But one of the things Tom and I were discussing on the phone last night is that if you think about what kind of work it takes to put on those various events, and then you rewind in your mind of what things looked like in Lincoln in 2005 or 4. Now, fast forward nearly 20 years, the community has grown significantly. The attendance at a lot of the events is increasing. The expectation of the events every year seems to change and increase. We've even had to have discussions about how much longer can we continue to do the event in the areas we're doing them because there's so many people there. So the resources the chamber has to put out to pull these things off is not 2004 numbers or efforts. It's significantly more today than it was then. And I think that's a really important point. In addition, the attraction and the influx of commerce into the downtown and other areas as a result of those events is improving, and I think will continue to improve as downtown continues to cite new commercial businesses. So the proposed agreement generally says that they're going to continue those efforts. and add in the airport open house. There's the ongoing intergovernmental work that Tom does. So for example, for those who don't know, Tom hosts I think is it monthly, Tom, your intergovernmental meeting? Yep. So a lot of coordination, and the chamber's typically present at most of our, Josh is at most of our economic development meetings. Tom's at a lot of those, a variety of other services. And then I'm going to read off, if you just give me one moment, a couple of others. But in addition to all of those coordinated activities, the other things that Tom has included, which they already kind of are doing, but I think we're talking about maybe an expanded version, is service to our business community, surveys to our business community, getting an idea, maybe targeted recruitment of certain types of business that are really important to the community, and branding and marketing strategies, as well as some of the mapping work that they've done. And I think the way that we may propose is that it's a little bit flexible, so that if needs change, we can do different things. The chamber has generally requested that the council consider a financial contribution over the next 3-year period of about $120,000. That increases about $10,000 per year. So it goes, I think we had it at 30, 40, 50, right, Tom? In case it matters, I don't think that it's really comparable. I did check with Roseville and Rockland, and this is on par roughly with what Roseville contributes to their chamber. Rockland has contributed larger dollar amounts during the ARPA time period, and then it sounds like they have other agreements. So it seems to be generally reflective of what we're seeing in the area. But what I would just say about our chamber is that the services that we're getting are significant. I think this gives us the opportunity to partner on more moving forward. And I'm going to throw it to Tom now. Maybe Tom, you can explain about, if were this to be approved, like, some of the resources that you'd be getting, what it'd allow you to do that maybe would be more difficult today.
Yeah, obviously, well, as we just had our big Christmas parade, thank you, Holly and Ben, for coming up and doing the countdown. We've seen some negative comments for the first time in a while, where people were, really, you get 6,000-7,000 people and they can't see in the back, or they can't hear, we're doing everything we can, but we're fortunate to have Bayside Church helping us more. Next year, they propose to possibly take over the entire production part of it, the stage, sound, video monitors. That's going to be a huge help to that, because it's getting, like I said, it's so expensive. Last year, the stage was $3,300. You guys contributed $1,800 to that. But again, the chamber, we're on this beer budget, and we're doing these huge events, champagne events, that people come up to us and I just kind of laugh, Josh and I, after working 18 hours on our feet, they want to give us a constructive criticism. And I'm like, can you just call me tomorrow? It's 10 o'clock at night, I want to go home. But no, we love what we do, and we are expanding our services constantly. We partner with the county and the other cities, the other chambers. Tomorrow morning, we have a joint government affairs meeting in Auburn. Auburn and Loomis chambers are hosting that one. Lincoln does it in June. We host it. But again, as these events are growing bigger and bigger, it's a lot for a staff of 3. And we're spending a lot of dollars on staff time. It's not just the cost of the putting on the event. It's also all the hours that staff puts in, and that we can't get to other things. But the god awful truth of the matter is, we do it all. We do make up. People say, well, you guys do all these big events, but what about your advocacy? Oh, no, we're right there, right there for our business community, like any other chamber, if not more. So I really been thinking about this a lot last couple of years. And then when I met with Sean, I just said, we just really need some help. Again, these events we love doing them, but when we're getting, 12 to 15,000 for July, about 10,000 with the rain a couple weeks ago. We're bringing in about 70,000 people to the community with all the events. On top of probably another 10,000 little events that we participate with or help or really promote or do whatever we do. So I think the partnership that we have and all these other things that we do, I think this will just really be a real positive for the community because we can use the money to actually do more and do them better. Again, like next year, we wanted to have some extra, monitors and maybe a video monitor or speakers in the plaza for the tree lighting. Because like I said, it's just they're getting so big, and that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. But the air show, Richard Pearl, I know Richard's here tonight. We talk about the air show all the time, and we're talking about doing a VW show and camping. And I'm like, Richard, hold on, let's stick to our guns and put on a great show. But we are working on possibly adding a bigger car show component to that. But again, we're here to help. Josh has been working, he'll be at the EDC tomorrow morning, talking about our district program, where we're going to kind of mimic, Josh came up with kind of mimicking your districts. And we're going to have board of directors that are in your districts. And, it'll be led by staff, but we're going to have more meetings where it's per district now. So the businesses that, live out in Lincoln Crossing, if they have an issue, we can talk about it. They have a representative from our board that they can call. And we're going to have, I don't know if it's bi-monthly or you want to say a few words about Josh?
That's a great idea.
Yeah, tomorrow I'll be presenting for EDC a little bit more of a deeper dive. It's really about getting organized as a chamber. We have obviously a growing business community, but we also have a business community that's been here for many years. So this, different districts have different challenges. So it's not a one size fits all. So it's working with the EDC in the city, obviously working with Public Works and all your departments has been a pleasure. We work along different items for these events, but in regards to more business development, retention, that's kind of a huge piece for 2024 for us. So through that presentation, we'll kind of go through those mechanics, but it's really about having an advocate also for the districts among our board so that we can make sure that we address the needs of each district. And we've outlined the districts to actually be in line with each council district so that we can kind of stay in a line step with the department. And we're hoping to get some EDC participation to kind of fulfill that and bring a lot more presence for our business community, as well as bringing new businesses and getting them excited about what Lincoln has to offer.
And one of the issues we've had discussions here and there, as an advocate for our business community and a resource for the general community, people will come to us if they have an issue. And, when we come to the city, we don't want to be in an adversarial role, but, we're here representing our membership and or a business member. Doesn't have to be a member of the chamber. We're still going to represent them. So when there are issues, we want to come to the city and say, hey, who do we talk to? Who do we push this person to? We know in general, but Sean and I, we're working on that, more of a policy. Because, quite frankly, you're all aware how certain things come up and then you get down to the bottom of it, it's not really true or it's a half truth. So that's what we don't want to be a part of. We want to help our business community bring into the city if there is an issue. But this kind of districting is going to help with that because they can kind of come to their district rep or whatever. And again, we just want to make this as smooth as we can for both the city to help with the department head that might not know of an issue. We just can't, we want to be there for both the city and our business community. So with that, I appreciate, any questions you guys might have, but just the bottom line is, as we're growing, the chamber's growing, and of course the events are just getting bigger and bigger, and we want to bring back the state of the city. I know we haven't done that for a while. That's in here. If we want to do that, we'd love to do that again.
Absolutely.
back when Jennifer was here, we went round and around, with the audit. She goes, I really don't want to do the state of the city. And so that's why some people were asking, why did you stop doing it? I said, well, quite honestly, the city didn't want to do it during that period. And so I'm looking forward to working with you guys and getting that going again. But yeah, any questions you might have?
And one last bit, Mayor, which Tom and I have discussed, and we'll have to kind of figure out how we work it in. One of the things I suggested that we should at least discuss is if the city is going to be this level of financial contributor to the chamber, what role should the city ask for in terms of representation on the board, whether that be a voting member or a officio member. And look, I know you don't need one more board to be a part of, but it is a significant investment, and minimally it might help some communication between boards.
Yeah, Tillman was honorary member of the board, but in the contract, we're willing to make it a voting member. But
I'd actually
whatever.
like to see that. If we're gonna partner financially, like we should, I agree, we totally should, then I'd like to have a voting member, whether that be a council member or a staff member or whatever. Yep.
Careful, Sean.
Yeah.
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 And we just had a board elections. We have 5 new board members coming on. Alyssa Silhai is now going to be on our board. Whitney Eklund, Al Gonzalez, Steve Jacobs, who owns Brothers Tap House. And he's a really interesting fellow. I didn't really know him. Josh works with him more than I do, but Steve was very involved back with the chamber before I was here. I didn't know that. And with youth sports and stuff. So I think he's going to be a great addition to our board. And Kenny Long,
Oh, great.
most connected guy I know. Looking forward to having Ken on the board. And again, we're moving forward, and we're just trying to keep it as positive as we can, and for the betterment of the city of Lincoln.
And last thing, Mayor, the other thing that's been included is which is really pretty neat, is some tracking and performance metrics and reports that Tom's added in specific couple times a year, actually, for council be able to kind of evaluate, like, how's it going? What, how are we doing? Are we meeting kind of the goals we set in the contract?
Some of our larger members, President Circle members, we do that. We do a quarterly meeting with them to see how we're spending their money. I mean, that's to put it bluntly. And Sutter Health is one of them that we meet on, and we talk about all the programs that all 3 chambers are doing together. We have a tri-membership with Roseville, Rockland, and Lincoln. So that's something that I feel is real important to give you guys updates of what's going on and how things are going, or what's going on. So I have no problem doing that.
I think that's important. So Sean, it actually sounds like the 2 of you have got this pretty well baked. Hey, we can certainly kick our input your way, but
Yeah, I'd say that it's ready to go in the oven, but we need you to sprinkle stuff on
Well,
it.
my other question is, I haven't heard a dollar amount yet, so I don't know what we're partnering with, but,
$120,000 over a 3-year term.
okay. So I don't know if that's enough is that for helping with more staff or just resources?
Well, we just brought Josh on. We extended his contract. Cause like I said, I first started with just Kristen and I, and oh boy, I never even touched on the volunteer part of this. I'm sure Paul, you guys had tons of volunteers, but now it's taken, I would have to say, with Public Works, streets, our volunteers, our staff. I mean, we're looking at 50, 60 people now for a parade, where it used to be probably 20, 25, I don't know. But we're looking at, like I said, Jessup, I love them. They gave us 11 baseball players and man barricades, last week, whatever.
let's just say the parade used to be a lot more improvisational.
Yeah. Oh, we can't afford that now. We get too much hate mail. But no, like I said, our number one concern, honestly, is safety. We talked to Chief Alves and Public Works, Scott Boynton, constantly about, we have some citizens that, I can't believe you're changing this or that. Well, we have 15,000 people on top of about 1,500 participants in the parade. So this isn't, you just can't run just, well, yeah, that barricade doesn't really matter. No, it matters. And we had several volunteers. Today I was bringing this up, talking about tonight. And they said, yeah, I worked a couple years ago and the people were almost hit me. I'm a volunteer trying to they're trying to go through the barricades. And so it is dangerous and we care about the safety of our, everyone. But so we are taking it a lot more serious and spending a lot more money trying to make that happen. So
Appreciate it. So for me, Holly, this is less about how are you going to spend the money and more about a services contract.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I'm
I was
simply
just curious.
laying
Yeah,
out
yeah.
what we expect in exchange for that. And I think you've laid that out pretty darn well. The one area that I think a couple areas, but one area I think I'd like to explore is what does, I don't want to see redundancies of efforts. What does business attraction, business retention look like from a chamber perspective? And how is that going to dovetail into the work that we're doing? You're about to, I believe, hire a new economic development manager, director, however you're going to title that.
Yeah, so it's one of the reasons why however we are represented within the chamber board, I think that gives us the opportunity because the chamber can move differently than we can. They don't operate on the same rule book that municipal employees do. There's more flexibility, and Tom and Josh and I talk about it quite a bit. The reason they get phone calls about city things all the time, every day, I'm sure, and I refuse to believe that it's simply because people don't want to call City Hall. I think it's because they've created a really warm environment, and it's normal for folks that aren't involved in local government to think, well, I guess I'd call the chamber if I needed to know what to do about business. That's logical to me. And so I think that one of the things that we're hoping to memorialize in this agreement is how we partner together for what I would call small business attraction. And then the chamber needs to be with us most of the way on the large industrial, kind of larger scale economic development, job creation type businesses as well. And the reason why it's so valuable is they happen to have almost all of them, if not all of those large businesses already as members on their board. And so can you imagine how powerful it could be if you have a prospective business that wants to come to Lincoln, and one of the folks that's there is Mark from Sierra Pacific, for example, who runs a large plant here and can speak to the support that the city has given him and his company over years. So I don't know if you want to add to that, Tom, but.
Well, I do quite a few site visits. I just did one across from the rodeo grounds. I didn't realize that Jazz, the person that bought it, is already selling it or trying to. I thought they were going to be doing a couple hotels, but I don't know what's going on. But anyway, another investor came in, and Tony Frage and I and Ken Long met with them on site, and they're doing their due diligence about taking over that site. The only thing, I mean, I don't know the city's business, and you probably know more than I do, obviously, about that project, but the new investor, his concerns is, again, the infrastructure. It's just going to cost me $1 million to tear it all out and then have to put it all back because of the way it's, it's the way it's set 20 years ago. But Tony was out there doing a great job. We had all the maps and, the main lines. He was showing the investors where they're at, so you can keep those and just remove these other ones and hook up. Anyway, but we
as
do.
As long as it's underground, you can reuse. It's those that are exposed that would be the real problem.
Yeah. So we actually get quite a few calls and do that, believe it or not. And I'll let Sean know whatever. And but until you guys get, like I said, the assistant city manager, which I'm fully for. I think Sean works his, off, and an economic development director or manager or someone that we can work with. Because again, Leatherby's didn't just show up; they were asked to come. So that's what we got to do, and we're willing to do that. And but it does. I do marvel at the calls that we get every day, from I can't find a parking spot to what buildings are available at this rate, at this. I'm like, wait a second, they call property management or something, but anyway, we get just the calls every day.
Don't forget, when are you gonna get a Trader Joe's?
Oh, yeah, that
Top of the
one.
list.
We had one today, or what was it? Someone else said something about, I think, it might have been Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or something. I said, just hold your horses, you know, but anyway.
That day will come.
But no, we appreciate you working with you, and this is just something that we really, to maintain the standards that we've set. It's getting a little overwhelming. to be honest with
Maybe
you.
I'll kick us off a little bit. So I was around when that initial contract was around. I believe it was about 25,000 a year. And the chamber at that time was housed in City Hall, in this building, as a matter of fact. And directly next to that was our economic development manager at the time. They were working hand in glove. And the chamber was also kind of a sidebar, the home of the volunteer center. And
yeah.
so there's your volunteer list, right?
Yeah.
But that was 2008, 2009, 25,000 a year for a couple of parades and a few other things. Obviously, our events have expanded well beyond that. Our attendance is well beyond that. I don't know that I think that 120 over 3 years is unreasonable, given the increase in the cost of everything else. So if we can flesh this out, I'm going to be supportive.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what this is indicative of the health of Lincoln, right? Coming out of the recession and all the other stuff that we've been through, getting back to a place where I know, this is aside from the chamber, but the city helping more with the 4th of July fireworks and all that, where for years it was like, couldn't do anything. And now coming back, partnering with the chamber in a more substantial way. I think it's just indicative of the place that we're in. I mean, we still have a ways to go, right? We still need more sales tax capture and all that stuff, but I'm really excited about this because you do a lot of work, and we do a lot of work, and we work together anyway, but now we're gonna formalize it and have this agreement and be able to support you. And I'm grateful. And so I'm very excited, and I will be supporting this.
I think that's really on point. It was impossible, I think, for any council to support giving taxpayer dollars, general fund dollars, to something like parades.
Yeah.
When we didn't have police officers and
Yeah.
firefighters.
Yep.
We are now, I believe, fully staffed, both police and fire. And so that gives us a little bit of flex. And you're right, as we continue to grow, we've got some relatively healthy revenues. They do need to improve, but we're doing better than we have in the last decade. And so,
Well, and I just like to add real fast, you know, I was telling, I think Richard Pearl, the car show especially, you know, the Rods and Relics, you know, everyone, I'm one of the youngest guys in the club, I'm the president. And I took that role on to save the car show. And I say that with no disrespect to my car club members, but every year after the car show, literally a week later, we have the same conversation. Are we going to do it next year? I mean, we just had 10,000 people and 430 cars. What do you mean? What are we going to do? Why are we even asking me that? So, but the car show specifically, in fact, I was walking with Dan Carlson. I hope he's doing better. I was walking with him last year, and all we heard in like a 1 block radius was, God, what a great day for Lincoln. What an amazing event in Lincoln, you know, just, and as a council members, I think it's cool that you get beat up so much on certain things. And when the public, I think they truly think, you know, they think of you guys when they think of the big events in Lincoln. And so it's a real, to me, it's a real positive. If I was a council member, you know, it's one thing if these blew up in our face, it'd be one thing, but to hear the, you know, the Hallmark, you know, the Christmas stuff, you know, it's just a Hallmark movie, blah, blah, blah. It is cool to hear that, you know, in the crowd. And it's just, it really does warm your heart, no matter how tired you are, you know, or in the rain for 18 hours. Yeah, we got yelled at for I can't believe you're gonna do the parade in the rain, or I can't believe you're gonna cancel the parade today. I'm like, oh, no, hold on. You know, we get yelled at both ends of it all day that day. And, but I'm glad we didn't call it. It's just that light rain. It was cool. You know, it wasn't bad.
Unless I missed it, I think when you were listing all your events, I didn't hear Showcase.
Yeah, Showcase,
That's one of your big ones.
that's one of our big ones. And,
It
you know,
is, but
last
it's
year.
a fundraiser for that.
Yeah, that's one of
Yeah,
our.
but it's still awesome. People come and go, what a great day for Lincoln.
It's Showcase is getting, we had like 1,200 people this year. And we're gonna expand it. We're gonna open up Fifth Street again. We shut it down because we wanted to keep it small, but now we're getting big crowds. So we're gonna open up Fifth Street. I even have my VW bus out there this year. You know, that was a big hit this year. But also it allows us, 2 years ago, him and I can hardly walk, even Kristen, after, we can hardly walk the next day. I mean, I was literally like, oh my God, I'm in a wheelchair. What's wrong with me? It was, so this year I said, we're gonna have a contract with somebody to move all those tables and chairs and everything. And we're gonna sit here and direct them.
Jessup Boys. will
And
do it
Jessup
for you.
Boys, we did a contract with Jessup. We paid them, you know, just for the baseball team. It was my pleasure to sign a contract with them, and they did an amazing job. They picked up everything, and we just kind of directed them. And that's what this will help us with, because we just can't do it. The volunteers are there all day. You know, people that will just have your volunteers do it. Well, no, they've already been there for 10 hours, you know?
So, Tom, I
So-
think I'd like to go ahead and, I think I know the direction this is heading. I want to go ahead and wrap this up and get everybody home tonight at a reasonable hour. Ken, any thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that with the way we're growing, that it's a necessity. I think that we have to have you and services for us to be able to be in a position to chip in, but it absolutely the right way.
Yep. Bill?
Yep. People talk about it. I mean, I know what, 4 people that's moved here because of the parades. It's crazy. They were visiting and, oh my Lord, we bought a house in Lincoln Crossing
Because of
2
the
years
parades.
because of the 4th of July parade. That's just cool.
Don, that give you what you need?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, is that relevant?
Very relevant.
Okay, good. Good, all right.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Josh.
guys.
Thank you, thank you. We'll move on quickly to city manager reports.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I have a lot of things to report, but I'm only going to mention 2 things because I really only one thing is worth saying. And but before I get to that, because I'm going to have trouble getting through it.
Now it's 2 things again.
Yeah, I just wanted to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. This will be our last meeting of the year. I really enjoy working with our staff, with Christine, obviously with the city council and our various committees and commissions. It's a pleasure, and I think I probably speak on behalf of all the staff that we're very grateful, to work for this organization. Okay, I'm going to try my very best to get through this without getting a little bit emotional, but today is the anniversary, 52nd anniversary of Les Shellbach, who died on December 12th, 1971, member of the Lincoln Police Department. I thought I was going to try to read a proclamation that was done a number of years ago that details what happened. I don't think I can make it through it, but suffice to say that a robbery had occurred. An off-duty sergeant from LPD responded. There was a firefight. He was shot multiple times. He got to cover. Officer Shellbach showed up and was fatally shot in the chest by an M16 rifle, rupturing his aorta. I don't think it is respectful to go into the details of what happened in the aftermath, but suffice to say that the suspects were brought to justice, two served life in prison, 1 died before the murder trial. But given that we happen to have a council meeting today, and Chief just reminded me a few minutes ago, I think it's pretty important to keep those people who gave the ultimate sacrifice for his community in mind. And so I'll close with that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely agree. So it wasn't just that a firefighter ensued, it was an ambush.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah,
bringing
thank you
that
for
up. It is something we need front of our minds. We have renamed a street after him with a very special memorial type of sign, but I think it's important that we keep that, keep bringing it up each and every year to remind ourselves of what our law enforcement community does to keep us all safe.
Thank you for that.
Is that it?
Yeah, and remind me next time, I'll just give it to the chief to do. 'Cause he can probably make through the whole thing.
Okay. Council committee reports. Holly?
You skipped over initiated business, but I don't have any, so
All
that's
right.
okay.
Council initiated
No,
business,
no,
anyone?
no.
All right, now committee reports.
Okay, just a couple things, not a whole lot to report. Pioneer is updating the JPA and will be noticing all the member agencies. So I don't know if they've reached out to you yet or not, but they just updated, cleaned it up a little bit. And so everybody has to agree to it. So they're in the process of that. And then just the year-end audit stuff. So nothing major, but just normal things. And then I filled in for the mayor for PCTPA. And since I don't usually sit in that meeting, it was a lot of stuff. And really, I mean, there was several things on the agenda, but probably the biggest takeaway was the presentation of the Regional Transportation Improvement Program. The board adopted it and just lists out the money that we do have to start working on projects. And so there's a list of those, but yeah, and maybe you can help fill in the gaps on that. But so nothing really earth shattering, but just working through, state legislation and funding. And then they did talk about, the need for the measure to pass if they go forward with it and all that stuff.
Yeah, the I-80 auxiliary lanes that are under construction right now are
Yeah.
really the last projects we have funding for.
Yeah, they did talk about the aux
And
lanes,
so,
yeah.
Again, you're right. Finding federal funding and some type of local match
Yeah.
for state and federal funds is absolutely essential to be able to continue to move forward on the
Right.
projects that are on that list.
And then the last thing on that, just for point of interest, and I'm sure you'll hear about it because I think they're going to put it on the agenda. Councilmember Cortez from Loomis asked to have a conversation about funding for the Horseshoe Bar 80 interchange because it's becoming quite a problem for them, and it also impacts Rockland too. So there was a lot of support to have a conversation about that. So
Good.
that'll be coming up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ben, anything? Okay.
Looks like we're making some progress on the Titan site. The Army Corps of Engineers coming up with a solution, probably a chemical barrier to protect the Sun City. They're moving with all deliberate speed.
That it?
That's it.
Okay. So just very quickly for me, I attended the SACOG board meeting yesterday. It doesn't affect us directly just yet, but I think it's really important that everybody knows about it. There was a proposal put forward, pretty much fully baked, quite honestly, much farther along than it should have been before the board was engaged on it, to create a tolling authority to advance the YOLO 80 corridor project that has already received federal funding and will lose it if they don't act upon that in haste. So the proposal right now is to create a JPA, a couple of positions on the board for Yolo County, a couple of positions for SACOG, one at large. It doesn't affect Placer County at all right now. We will have the ability to, in the future, if we feel the need for a tolling authority, to either form one of our own, or if the arrangements are to our benefit, to join whatever tolling authority is set up. But my real point in bringing it up is this is the introduction within our region of old lanes, managed lanes. And I would expect to see it spread and grow as we go forward. And I think that could manifest a number of ways. In Placer County, again, we don't have to go with these folks. But I think that if we cannot secure a revenue measure that will give us the match to pull down state and federal dollars, the only way to move forward on expanding Highway 65 might well be tolled lanes. new additional lanes that will be tolled from the onset. And I think that may be true of Placer Parkway as well. So it's really just a heads up. It's a first. There's a tolling authority being proposed for our region. And I would expect to see that be approved and continue to grow over time. So that is all I have. With the exception of SACOG has put together their 2023 highlights. I'll give a copy of this to Gwen. She can put it all in your boxes and you can track that as well. Information items. Anyone have any last?
Yeah, just a couple. So you were missed, both of you, at the Christmas parade, but I wanted to thank staff, specifically Jen Reiling and Leslie and Sean. They gave them an idea for a float and they put it together. I thought we were gonna do this last year, but we got rained out, where, save the fire trucks for 4th of July, which is a lot of fun to ride on them, but we don't need to do it twice a year. And so we created a float, put lights on it. I invited, so Ben and I were there, invited any staff that wanted to come. And so Leslie rode with us, Sean and his oldest son, Jonah, rode with us. Leslie, what was the name of our, Chris from finance, right? Yeah. Leslie found him in the
Our
crowd.
utility billing unit.
Yes, and he's such a nice young man, and he came and rode with us. My mom was with us, and my husband drove the truck. And we had the banners that we bought last year that says Merry Christmas from City Council and staff. And Ben brought his big speaker and played music, and it was a blast. We had so much fun. We ran out of candy again, so my goal is next time we are not gonna run out of candy.
So what I like is that Sean was on the float.
Yes.
And he was the guy
Yes.
who saw firsthand that
Yes.
you run out halfway through.
Yes, well,
That
and
40
Paul,
pounds of candy.
Ben
does
and I
not
ran
affect
into
it.
Walmart and I bought 3 more big bags because when I saw what we had, they did a great job, but I'm like, that's not gonna be enough. And they were like, really, are you sure? And I'm like, I'm absolutely sure. And we still ran out. So
Of course you did.
yes, but we're
The-
not,
the
yeah,
more
but
you
it
have,
was,
The more you throw.
but it was so fun. And Tom was right. It was a great day. And then Ben and I went up on the stage with Congressman Kylie and we did the countdown and it was amazing. So I wanted to thank staff and everybody for doing that. And then also this last Sunday, in your absence again, as acting mayor, I went to the Hanukkah celebration with the Jewish community, the rabbi that I asked him to pray because he was there and I said, hey, come do the invocation. And they did the menorah lighting. So I got to light the first one.
Very cool to be
Yeah,
part of
it
that,
was
isn't
very
it?
cool. And I made a few comments and it was a really nice little gathering and they were very appreciative of the city's support. And so I was very pleased to do that. So it should have been you, but in your absence, I was very happy to do
appreciate
that.
you doing
Yes,
that.
of
Thank you.
course. Yeah.
All right. Any other
That's
information items? Nope.
Yeah, on Saturday morning, we had Rockstar Music Academy had its annual breakfast with Santa. 120 families were served. Mrs. Santa and Mrs. Claus were there for taking pictures, and each child received a free toy. By the way, it was hosted by the Women's Club, because it was at the Women's Club, and much fun and joy, not only for the kids, but for adults. Merry Christmas.
Indeed. Merry Christmas. Happy
Christmas.
Hanukkah. Happy
Happy
holidays
holidays.
to everybody.
Yes.
Thank you all for a full year of very great accomplishments, I think, for the city. And if we don't see you until next year, have a great holiday.
Have a great
everyone.
holiday, everybody.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for everything. We stand adjourned.